All right, we're going to call this meeting of the Prattville Planning Commission to order. Madam Secretary, could you please call roll?
Mayor Gillespie, Councilman Whiteside, Chairman Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Gardner, Chief Johnson,
Here.
Ms. Carpenter,
Here.
Mr. Hyman,
Here.
Mr. McAuley, and Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Thank you. All right, we have the first is the minutes. I believe they might have been sent to us. They are in the book. Does anybody have any comments, or do we want to approve them as they are written? We can overlook them. If I have a motion to approve. All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as they are in the book, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Thank you. We've got the first order as old business, Oak Creek Plat number 3. It has been held 2 or 3 times. Do we need to read it in? It is before us, so I don't need to read it in. I take it, Mr. Duke.
Yes, sir. This, as you recall, has been held. Get back to Ms. Morgan's notes here. This has been held multiple times since March of this year, and there was a question about sufficiency of fire flow in the area, and I believe that was addressed sufficiently, was it not, Chief Johnson? And I believe it was requested that it be held one more time back in August, or it was held for a certain time period. Is that correct? Okay. And I do not see Mr. Gillen here representing. As you recall, with preliminary plats, you can hold them for a 30-day time period, and then you have to have the property owner's consent to do that again. Otherwise, they're automatically approved. And my recommendation on this, since there doesn't appear to be any urgency on the part of the property owner, is to basically to deny it in the absence of anybody here to ask that it be continued.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Duke? Mr. Gillen's not here. We can't discuss it with them. Let's vote. All?
Mr.
Yes.
I'd just make sure that we got a couple of new members who probably have not run across this yet. Under state law, a preliminary plat is deemed to be automatically approved if not approved by the commission within 30 days. And unless the property owner or the developer gives permission for the commission to hold it over. In this case, this has been held over multiple times at the request of the property owner, and y'all have agreed to that, but it doesn't look like they're actually going to do anything with it. And without them being here today to give you permission to hold that over, I'm going to recommend that you just disapprove it.
Okay.
All that would happen is they would just have to start over with a new request. That does require a new public hearing, but it is not a major ordeal.
Okay. Well, let's vote. All in favor of this motion that's before us, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. I believe it is going to be, it fails to pass. Let the record show. All right, number 2. It is a replat, Hearthstone Estates Phase 2A at 979 and 981 Fireside Drive. What we got, Mr. Duke? It is just a simple replat.
Yes, sir. This is a simple replat. As you recall, that just requires a basic motion. As we're seeing with a few lots in the Hearthstone subdivision, folks are asking to combine those. This is, again, a simple combining of 2 lots, removing the common lot line, we recommend approval.
All right. And does anybody have any questions for Mr. Duke? All right, let's vote. There's no questions. All in favor of the, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to make a motion.
I move that we replat Hearthstone Estates Phase 2A lots 979 and 981 Fireside Drive.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion? Second. Thank you. Now we can vote on it. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay, we're going to go to number 3. Can you read that in for me? Thank you.
Resolution Sketch Plan Patriot Farms, November 19th, 2015. Whereas Stone Martin Builders has presented a sketch plan for the Patriot Farm subdivision, and whereas the property is presently owned by David Avant and Larry Avant, and whereas the property is located adjacent to Old Ridge Road and north of East Memorial Baptist Church, and whereas the proposed development is partially located in the city limits and zoned FAR and B1, and whereas the required city departments have reviewed and commented on the proposed sketch plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby gives its favorable review of the submitted sketch plan of Patriot Farms. So moved.
Thank you. All right. Who wants to talk to us first? All right, what you got?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is our sketch plan for a proposed approximately 230 lot subdivision located still on Old Ridge Road, but to the northeast of the existing master plan for Glenbrook subdivision. We have looked at this piece of property and realized that a different product than the Glenbrook product that Stone Martin is currently constructing would work better in a separate subdivision. Essentially, this commission has seen a variety of master plans come before you over the years, and all of them had a zero lot line component to them. And what Stone Martin has done is realize that the market in Prattville is really not conducive to that product. That the amount of people that they expected to desire the zero lot line 40-foot wide lots are really wanting a little bigger lot. So what we have done is my office is currently underway to actually the 40-foot zero lot lines that are all located in the master plan of Glenbrook. We're taking them out, completely getting rid of them, and there won't be any more zero lot lines. And what we're doing is creating a separate subdivision that is bigger than the zero lot lines. It does not have a zero lot line rear alley type component to it, but it's not quite as big as the large estate houses that are currently in Glenbrook. So it's kind of a hybrid. And really, simply because Glenbrook is master planned and we've been working on this forever and so much has gone forward, taking out those zero lot lines is actually a fairly easy, prospect. But adding this completely new product is not so easy. So what we're proposing to do is to go across the road and build a separate subdivision that will mimic Glenbrook in a lot of ways, but be a little different product. So what you have before you is a approximately 230 lot sketch plan. Some of this property, according to our research, is within the city limits. Some of it is without. This commission will also see an annexation and rezoning application come before you should this sketch plan be approved. More than likely that annexation and rezoning application will come before you at the January Planning Commission meeting, I would assume. But really, this is our first take on this subdivision, and we'd really, I'm sure that this commission has a few questions and comments, and I'd be happy to answer any of them.
Okay. Does anybody have a question for Mr. Rice? Any concerns or questions for Mr. Rice? We might have some here in a minute, but we will call you back up, Mr. Rice. Yeah. Mr. Duke?
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I will, not sure I heard Mr. Rice talk about the size of the property. We're talking about approximately 93 acres. The proposed number of lots is 228. The proposed zoning is R3. Again, this is property that is at if you're familiar with Old Ridge Road, is at the top end, that first turn when you go from really a north-south, going past East Memorial Baptist Church, and then make this hook in the road, and then come back towards the water tower, which is roughly located here. Again, as Mr. Rice did say, this is would be across the road from what is planned to be Glenbrook subdivision. As you can see on the master plan that we handed to you, be adjacent to phase 7. There's a couple of unique features on this lot that are shown somewhat on the sketch. The first being an area here where there are four billboards. They were approved. I believe they were approved in about 2002. When this portion of this property was annexed, they're currently there, ranging in height based on the permits from about 44 feet. And I think the tallest is like 74 feet. They're illuminated billboards focused to the interstate. The eastern edge of this property would be Interstate 65. The other unique feature is 100-foot wide power line easement that is just adjacent to the billboards, and it runs basically the length of that Interstate 65 frontage. The towers and the height of the towers are similar to those that you see running down McCone Smith Road. That is just a continuation of that line across the interstate as a large Alabama Power Company substation that feeds that system. Looking at the sketch in general, certainly see no issue with the lot layout other than the ones that are incorporating the power line easement. We would like to make some recommendations about looking at screening or mitigating the impact of the easement and the billboards on those lots. As laid out here, the billboards are in a separate non-buildable lot. I don't think it's reflected in your sketch, Mr. Rice, but that lot would have to remain B1. It has a B1 zoning now and would have to stay that to allow those billboards to continue. Alabama DOT rules for signage along the highway, they have to either meet the DOT rules or local zoning. Local zoning only would allow those boards in a B1 district or some type of business district. What we would like to see, though, is that this power line easement be incorporated into that common lot for the billboards. Instead of lots 10 through 26 being burdened with the power line easement as a part of their backyard, which would be an area where they could not plant trees, could not screen off against the interstate noise or the light from the billboards. We'd like for that easement to be placed in the same lot as the billboards. Does everybody follow what we're?
I'm following.
Okay. I believe that might require maybe the loss of some of the lots on Street B, C, or D, maybe just one lot each. I'm not sure how that could be accommodated, but I think that would be a better situation for those lots instead of at the outset basically saying to those lots that they have to accommodate that power line easement.
I think they could, well, that'd be what, 1, 2, 3, possibly 6 lots.
All the way down.
Well, the easement runs the length of the
Right.
lots. And what I'm saying is
Yeah, just move that road up.
to move this road over, we're talking about approximately 6 lots, maybe 7. The other areas that need some consideration is consistency with the Glenbrook sketch plan, and that's why we handed out this.
Mm-hmm.
And having talked to Mr. Rice, I don't think this is a problem. We have Street F and Street A that are shown on this map. Street F is the connection here near the northern part of this property. I'd like to see that at least line up with the street that's proposed across in the Glenbrook section. That either of those streets can be moved to accommodate. We just want to line these two intersections up. Chief, you look like you got a question.
Well, I do. Are you talking about moving the street that divides lot 7 from the lot that's marked SF2, moving it to line up where the entrance to the Patriot Farms proposed is? Moving it, what, north?
North, yes, sir.
Yeah, north a little bit.
It could move. It can move north, or Patriot Farms could move south. It doesn't matter. I just want the two, whichever one's in first, whichever intersection with Old Ridge is in place first is going to be the one we want the other one to be built to. Okay. It's likely Patriot Farms obviously would be built earlier since that's what they're proposing. So wherever they set that intersection, that's where we're going to make them.
The reason I ask is a separation on the two entrances is, as it's proposed, is a adequate distance apart. So my concern is bringing that one down much.
No,
Could kind of pinch our egress out of there. I'd have to look at that with a scale. But
no, sir. I'd like for them to align. That what we want them to. We want these two intersections to line up.
He's talking about the
separation from
other
here
one.
to here. Separation from the southwest entrance into Patriot Farms.
Right.
Two
I understand.
axes.
They would have to adjust.
Yeah.
It's likely that we would be taking the road in phase 7 and pushing it further north. If Street F has to stay here to meet your separation requirements, then that's
Right.
and this is going to be the location for the phase 7 intersection as well.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to eliminate the possibility of some type of offset street at a later date. The other items have to do with amenity areas, and Blake, I didn't hear an explanation for lot 9.
I was just gonna.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. Well, I'll just go through it. Concerned about lot 9. I'm not sure what's supposed to be used for, but if it's a common area, request that be moved somewhere a little more central in the development. The other amenity area is lot 57, which is this large area to the north, mostly drainage ways and steep slope. It doesn't need to be developed, but if it's going to be set up as an amenity, it needs to have better access. So just some questions about proposed uses. You can see in the city staff report that you have other comments from the fire department, talking about dead-end street, length being over 1,000 feet on Street B, and then questions about, or statement about hydrants. And then engineering had made a comment, which certainly planning concurs with, about connectivity to the north. There's a 117-acre parcel to the north. Frankly, I believe it has limited potential for development, but we do want to make sure we leave some access to that parcel. There's also a statement from engineering about considering traffic calming. That's been a standard statement and something that we would look to incorporate at preliminary plat for sure. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anyone have a question for Mr. Duke at this time?
Thank you.
Did you have any other recommendations for this?
Sir?
Did you have any other recommendations?
The standard recommendation for a sketch plan is if we have any questions that need resolution, that it be moved to a committee to allow time for that. But again, that's up to the commission.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rice, thank you for coming back up. The that corner lot down there, what is that? Is it somebody's big yard?
If it would please the commission,
Yes.
I have the comments, and
Okay.
I really wanted to give a very brief synopsis, and I knew Joel was going to have some comments, and
Right.
I really think that I can stand here for about 5 minutes and
Okay.
take care of the majority of all of this at one time.
Okay. What you got?
You know, a few of these comments are just, you know, future stuff that has to be done. As far as the billboards are concerned, if you'll look, we actually have very close to a full lot depth on all of these lots. We actually have the front yard setback plus the actual building pad and a rear yard located here. So we did look at it. Joel is 100% correct. Should we move this transmission line into lot 235, the non-buildable billboard lot, we will lose essentially one lot across the board. We'll lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots. That's correct. And if the commission does feel very strongly about it, that is certainly something we could do. We put it forth like this. We have we've done this before, and the thing is that property cannot be used no matter what lot it's in. Tree cannot be planted. I mean, you can't overly vegetate. You can't build any structures. You can't really do anything with that, whether it's in these lots or that lot. So what we've always liked to do is put it into the actual yard, because in our experience, most people like it. They like knowing that that's their property. We've had people put little gardens in it and stuff like that. Nothing, essentially if you have anything that has any height to it, Alabama Power's going to come through there and mow it down. But we've had people plant, small home gardens and just all kinds of stuff, and they can do a lot of stuff with it. And the good thing is, as long as you're maintaining it and these people are cutting it, Alabama Power just pretty much leaves you alone. They don't come through there. They don't mow it. As long as you're maintaining it, they don't. So that's the reason we do that. But really, either way, I don't think it's a large, problem one way or the other. As far as the zoning of that lot, that's not an issue at all. Staff's comment asked, could it be deed restricted against other uses other than billboards? Essentially, we propose to show it as a non-buildable lot. That's really not an issue. If it's a non-buildable lot on the plat, you can't really do anything with it. As far as leaving it B1, I certainly don't have any issue with that. The Old Ridge Road. The Old Ridge Road alignment, this is the main connection into Glenbrook. This is a very, very arbitrary location of this line. As I've explained this to this commission, I know staff wanted to get it on record and say this is a future concern. It concerns me not in the least because, as all of you are aware, there's not even any lot layout done in this area up here. It will be zero trouble for us to bring that road out at this point rather than this point. That's really, I'm not concerned about that at all. I know that Joel wanted to have that out there, essentially put me on notice. No issues with that at all. Chief Johnson, as far as you're concerned, I mean, that's the reason that this was put here. Now, this is our ideal place to put this. I'll look at the fire code and check that measurement. I know. I'll check it. If we can move it over here a little bit, we might, but really it's an arbitrary point. It's a straight, it's not in a curve, it's in a straightaway. Have no topographic issues with it. We have no issue with that. It can be moved. Next comment planning staff had was, will a landscape screen be applied to the double frontage lots on Old Ridge Road? If you'll notice, these lots are quite a bit deeper than the rest of the lots in the subdivision, and that's the purpose of that. I think we're all familiar with the way Stone Martin has landscaped Old Ridge Road from Glenbrook subdivision, and we had these lots made to a depth where we could do something very similar along this subdivision. That area will be fenced and landscaped. Trust me, Stone Martin will not be able to sell that lot if they don't landscape it from Old Ridge Road. It's in their best interest as well. And we could certainly put a landscape easement across there. I mean, that's the point of that depth. Lot 9 was the amenity lot. To be honest, I put it there because that's kind of an undesirable location for a single family home. It's certainly perfectly usable for a single family home, but it's kind of an undesirable location. I do understand planning staff's comment regarding it being centrally located. At the same time, in a subdivision this size, I don't care if I put it right here in the dead middle. These people are probably not walking to it. They're going to drive, which is the purpose of us, city requiring a parking lot and things like that. It's my personal opinion that really a clubhouse pool type amenity lot like what's in Glenbrook, the location of it inside the subdivision is really not important as what goes on the lot. And that's the purpose of the reason that we put it at the front of Glenbrook as well was, people don't really want to live there. It's much more usable as an amenity lot. To be honest, could Stone Martin build and sell a home there? Absolutely. Would the people be as happy with that lot? No, because they're closer to the road. So I put it there, but it could certainly be moved. Doesn't really, it's not a huge issue whatsoever. It's going to utilize the same amount of space wherever I put it. So, we have a lot of options for that. The next two comments are essentially the same or related. It's all related to this large amenity lot. These areas down here are topographically challenged, not near as much as it is in Glenbrook, but it would be very difficult to actually build a subdivision on that. It has much more usable green space, in that area. Our proposal is to, you can't tell from your position right now, but the topography flows in this direction. It flows north. So water flows in this direction. So this area right here is an ideal spot for the local stormwater detention facility for this project. So our proposal is to essentially right in this area and put our stormwater detention right there. Okay, I figured you knew that. But that's our proposal. As far as access goes, we can certainly give more access. I can give another full access here, and I can widen that access. This is, again, it's sketch plan. It's very preliminary. We don't have field run topography, and we won't until all these approvals are received and we get out there and actually do the work. But if the city wants to require a full width lot access there, we have no issue with it. Simply because it's very manageable. I can do that. I can plan for that. I don't know what would go in that amenity area other than it just being natural green space for the development as well as the stormwater detention area. That was really our plan, but that's what it is. It's natural green space. This development will have a very significant amenity site of its own. As far as Chief Johnson's comments, Chief, I'm going to connect that road right there.
Okay.
And that will alleviate all of that. That's purely an oversight on my part. Simply did not check the length of that, and there's no problem to make that connection over there. It'll work. Truthfully, I started looking at it today, and my client might yell at me because I might gain a couple of lights by doing that. And the hydrant, that's a fairly standard comment. Showing the street connection to the north, it would be my desire. Joel alluded to the idea that this property up here is a very, very significantly challenged piece of development property. It would be my proposal, if this commission and staff were to agree, that essentially what we do is leave a full width right-of-way easement at this point in that north-south direction out of the end of that cul-de-sac. So at any point in the future, the city has the ability to utilize that. It could be transferable, how we want to do that. Yeah, I mean, that's not a big deal, but we have the room to allow for a future street, but it is my opinion that property has a low percentage chance of ever developing, at least in any time in the foreseeable future. Certainly like to plan for it, but actually building the road all the way to it, I don't know that that's the best use, but it could be done if the city felt strongly about it. But it would be my desire to just, leave a full 50-foot wide access there so that street could be extended at any point in the future. As far as the traffic calming, we essentially do traffic calming in the subdivision. There's roundabouts and there's islands, and that can certainly be worked out. Really the only area that I'm overly concerned about it is this long stretch right here, and I'd propose, we've got plenty of depth, I'd propose probably a series of islands like we've just constructed in Glenbrook, and that usually helps the aesthetics of the subdivision, as well as produces some traffic calming effects as well. The turn lane, I was hoping I wouldn't hear that, but it doesn't surprise me. We've had to comply in the past, and we will comply in the future with that. So, all in all, I was not overly concerned with the staff comments on this, and I hope that I've done my best to alleviate any of the commission's concerns. Certainly there will be additional discussions between myself and staff as we move forward in the process, but as of right now, I think we've got a pretty solid plan put together.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Rice?
I got one. I have one.
Yes, sir.
When you said for where the shrubs can go, and you said a fence, what type of fence are you talking about?
You know, unknown at this time. That usually waits for the landscape architect to get involved and do the designs. You know, and during the actual preliminary plat period, an overall landscape scheme for the subdivision is you know, worked and finally comes to fruition. But I would expect to see something very similar to what's in front of Glenbrook.
Okay. Yes.
How many lots in all have you got there?
All in all, buildable lots, I have 228.
228.
Yes, sir.
228.
And we have some smaller areas. We have an amenity lot here that, you know, some municipalities prefer for me to take that little lot 1 and actually add it in as part of lot 2. I think in Prattville we've done this before, and staff really hasn't had an issue with those little corner amenity lots as we enter the subdivision. If you go into Glenbrook, you see that area on the left that, you know, is open and landscaped. It's not really part of anybody's lot, but it's a buffer so that when you drive in the subdivision, you're not looking at the side of somebody's house. But we have those here, and here to kind of keep the people as you enter in from feeling so close to the road and things like
That's
that.
nice. I do like that. The other concern I have is the facing the interstate and those lots that are on the interstate. Are you saying that you're going to leave it up to the individual landowner whether or not they put a fence between them and the interstate and the right of way to the power lines? Or
No. We would certainly, and we've actually looked at this and wanted to see how the topography worked out more than anything. Certainly, one side of that easement is going to be fenced.
Okay.
I don't know which side yet, but in no way would we leave these lots open from here to the interstate.
Okay.
But we're going to have to put a fence on one side or the other, and a lot of it depends on which lot, which piece of property that easement is actually owned by. And then there's the issue of getting with Alabama Power to see if they will allow perpendicular crossings of fences. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if that was not an option, we'd probably put the fence on the lot side of the interstate. If it is an option, and we can get that permitted through Alabama Power, what they require is essentially a gate from each place. Don't know if they're going to allow it. It depends on the voltage of the of the lines, and a lot of different factors. You're working with a whole different group of Alabama Power people when you start these types of lines. But should it not be done there, it's going to be fenced on this side, on the lot side, if they don't allow that. So those are things that we've got to get with Alabama Power and take a look at, and it really. Sir?
I had a question. So if I understand you right, you can have the lot that go out. So you've got your lot, plus you could extend it on out of Alabama Power. So you could own it, but there'd be a right of way. And you're talking about building the fence. If the first case, you would build the fence on this side of the right of way. How much further would the property owner still have past that? That's the right of way, past that first fence. If you built it in the
If we were to construct a fence on the lot side
on the
of
lot
the right
side.
of way, and the easement was owned by the lots,
yes, how much more lot would that? How many more square feet would that be?
it's a 100-foot power easement. So it would be the full width, and these are approximately 70-foot wide lots. So they would have an approximately 7,000 square feet on the other side of that fence. But should Alabama Power not, allow those cross fences in there, at that point, it would be my recommendation to add that piece of property to the other lot, because you really, you're going to fence the wrong side.
I think moving it up. Do you want to?
Moving it up. I'm sorry.
I'm moving it up to, and I know it's eliminating 6 lots, but I just like the idea of it being completely its own entity.
And we certainly understand.
Myself, it has been and speaking of the amenity lot, you don't have a problem leaving that. The other concern is when are we going to build these people apart? The whole, because I see it as one neighborhood. I know you're saying it, but it's in one pocket and not in the other pocket. It's all the same thing. And we've got how many neighborhoods do we have up there right now? How many folks we have? We have Glenbrook, Pendlebrook, the 3 phrases of Glenbrook is all yours, and we don't have a park for them up there. And we've been moving the park around for the last 3 times you've been here, and you're here before us again, and there is not a park mentioned with this. I know it's a preliminary, but there's still no park.
I certainly hope this commission doesn't think that this subdivision had anything to do with the park.
I know, but whether I
understand.
Same pair of pants, just different pocket.
And I can speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
I made a commitment, Stone Martin made a commitment to this commission that Glenbrook Phase 4 was 129 lots, and not another lot would be built without the park coming in a true preliminary plat. I can tell you this, under no circumstances are the Avant family going to allow Stone Martin to stop building in Glenbrook and go over here.
Okay.
Glenbrook is going to continue on in the same fashion that it always has. This is another venture for Stone Martin. I can tell you those big, beautiful houses that Stone Martin builds are their bread and butter in the city of Prattville. That's not what this product is. They're certainly not going to stop Glenbrook, and that commitment we made still holds. The next preliminary plat that you get before you in Glenbrook will have the park. I think that's been 100% understood.
Are there any other questions? Concern? I know you want to ask something. All right.
I just think there's a lot, I don't know. You did a very good job of explaining things, but there were a lot of questions coming in.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot to digest and about what you said. I don't know that I'm ready to vote on this.
Would you like to see it go to a committee, Ms. Carpenter? Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
No, I don't. I just said I'm not.
I'm just asking. Okay. Well, we can, if I have a motion to put it in, or we can go to committee, can we? Or, Mr. Duke, would you like to, since we have some concerns?
I'll just start with where you are. You have a motion on the floor.
Yes.
And that is a motion has to be disposed of somehow, either held or voted on.
Okay. So, the motion, I don't think she made a motion.
No, I read it.
Oh, you read it in? Oh, absolutely.
Yes, sir. If you have a motion on the floor, then we need to deal with that first.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what happens with that, then you have other options, like going to a committee.
Could we restate what the current motion is?
Current motion is
to approve.
right? And that's generally the default resolution. So Ms. Carpenter has read in that resolution It's been properly seconded, so then that's before you.
Can we hold it?
You certainly can, absolutely. You can hold it. You just need somebody to make that motion other than the chair.
I understand. What y'all want to do? We can vote on it?
I move that we hold it.
Okay. There's a motion to hold. Is there a second? There's a motion to hold and a second. Any discussion, or you want to vote on the motion to hold? All in favor of holding, signify by raising your right hand.
We'd be wanting to hold.
Till the next meeting? Do you want to hold it till the next meeting? I mean, until,
And what are we trying to find out for next meeting?
I don't have,
okay. Let's discuss. Okay. We did discuss the what is it, the lots, moving those lots. And I guess that's the main thing.
But may I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we hold it, and I'm not for or against holding it at this point,
Mm-hmm.
are we going to get anything answered between now and next meeting, or are we just holding it just because we want to think about it? If we're going to hold it, we need a reason to hold it so we can either,
Absolutely.
if we can either meet on it and say, okay, this is what we're looking for. If we're just wanting to hold it just to put it off to next meeting, we might as well vote on it.
We would hold it and have a subcommittee meeting and meet with him to iron out all of the concerns that we have.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
But yes, we would have a,
The purpose of holding it is so we can get some questions answered, not just.
correct, and make sure we yes.
And based on what I heard and what he agreed to as far as the changes to that, or the way he had designed it and the changes he'd be willing to make for the road and all that,
Right.
that if we approved it, those would become part of that approval. Is that correct?
That is correct. Well, that's what we would discuss when we hold it. We would make sure those are all done, and when we come back the next meeting, they would all be drawn that way, I would take it. But we can vote on it now. That's up to y'all.
There's a motion.
There's a motion to hold. We can vote on, are y'all finished discussing it? Are we finished discussing? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to holding it because I liked everything you said, your answers, but I'd like to see them incorporated into the presentation on paper rather than just saying, didn't he say?
Yeah.
So that's why I'd like,
Okay.
that's why I'd like just to hold it for the next.
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Well, clarify it before we move it on.
Well, and somewhat a little bit in my defense, if you will look at the date on the comments, you know, I've done my best to clarify the comments as best I could. There was no time to actually put it on paper based on
Exactly.
based on the date that I
And
received.
I understand.
We
And like I
understand.
said, I think your answers sound great. It's just a lot to digest, to come in, to have read the questions, to have heard the answers, and to vote on it in 20 minutes.
Sure, I understand.
Well, I like what you said, so I don't have any objection to what's going to be done.
So what we're really saying then is we just want a new drawing showing all the things that we've discussed here on the drawing.
That is
as
correct.
We discussed them.
Yes. Now, if you feel that you can, that if he eliminates the 6 lots, you know, that's,
But I think we need to see it.
but we would like to hold it and perhaps have a little sub-meeting between the next year. Have it all ironed out and come back in December and have the meeting and say yay or nay. Of the third weekend. And so all in favor of holding it till December, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay.
I can't make up my mind.
That's what I thought. I mean, what
what
you want
do
to
you-
do for it if we do,
We're going to see
what I
that.
want.
We wanted to see the whole drawings and see the whole thing the way it's going to be. Now, we can preliminary,
It's you anyway.
No, sir, not terribly. We will be bringing the annexation and zoning before you in January. It would assist in our planning process, but it's not a terribly difficult thing. I have told this commission before that we could not handle it. That's not the case this time.
Okay.
Okay, we'll hold it.
Okay. That's 100% to hold it. All right, and we will, subcommittee meeting. Dallas, will you meet with us on a subcommittee? Would you care to meet with us? Okay, the three of us will meet with them in a subcommittee if you will set up a time for that. And
I am trying to assist Ms. Morgan and myself. Because of this, I couldn't see the record of the vote
was all in favor of
all in favor
of holding it.
Okay.
And we will have a subcommittee meeting composed of Mrs. Carpenter, Chief Dallas, and myself. Chief Johnson. Sorry, that. Okay. And so, all right. That is held. I'm going to move on to miscellaneous. Is there any miscellaneous? Meeting adjourned.